Hello to whoever's listening. It's been about 6 months since I started at my first job, and while there's so much that could be yapped about, what with the intricacies of the job hunt, or just the general coming of age of somebody who spent a significant amount of their life in the academe, who is now being faced with the latest life structure that is likely to be their last and their longest lasting life structure. I'm Gen Z, so the dream of retirement is as real as the Queen of England is right now. Lots can be said about adulting, but the way I would describe it is that it's a lot. Funny enough, that isn't where my mind's at right now. There's actually been something else that's on my mind throughout this whole transition. Well, it's been less on my mind and more so doping my brain. For the past 180 days, I've had at least one iced coffee a day. As someone who likely has a laundry list of undiagnosed disorders, I need to preface that I don't actually drink the bean juice for the caffeine. No. I drink it because I like it. Around 15 revolutions around the sun ago, I was introduced to the not-so-sweet dirt water through a very sweetened form, the Frappuccino, which really is nothing but an ice slush, prepared at the same time that a coffee machine grinds 2 rooms away, or it then wafts the essence of caffeine onto the beverage like a not invasive enough possession. But fraps are the candy cigarettes of the coffee drinking world. It's not meant to be a gateway drug, because at the bottom of all the discussion pertaining to dependency, addiction, and the like, coffee just doesn't fit on the same potentially self-destructive pedestal as something like alcohol, sex, or astrology. It gets you addicted to the experience, the ritual, the lining up at the Starbucks where the smells fill the air and the hustles bustle into this sort of calm white noise of middle-aged gossiping and young adult mingling. For you to come up to the pleasant barista and ask for the drink that you've had a few times to this point, which really only got there by recommendation from someone whose tastes you trust, who you probably shouldn't any longer if the aforementioned drink was the bean shavings on a venti snow cone. All of this to say that it didn't get you hooked on a feeling, it got you infatuated with a lifestyle. And I think something similar happened to me. The coffee habit has been there since college though, where I'd be that guy who came in half an hour late to class with a latte. See, the reason why most of your professors were actually late was because they didn't know how to work the damn phone apps to order in advance. Today, despite working in a creative industry, I spend most of my days in an office. The cold, stark white kind of bureaucratic dystopia you find described in a young adult novel, where the horror and terror isn't in the suffering and scarcity of mercy, but in the sheer surplus of dull. And wow, does a cup of the brown stuff shine so bright in the sanitized work cubicle. There's a ritual to sipping on the stuff only once you sit down at your desk, cause licking the lid during your commute is a sure way to waste your drink and potentially a fellow commuter's patience, then nursing it through the workday. Not necessarily as an energy booster, but as an in-between action that breaks up the autopilot of your task. Cause that's what it is. It's one of the many additions to your daily routine to break up the structure. But like all things you enjoy that you're blessed to be able to enjoy ad nauseum, it becomes integrated into normalcy. It becomes the mundane. At some point, that coffee stops hitting like it used to. Every few months or so, I take about a week off of coffee. Usually do so when I finish a drink and feel something. Not that I'd like another. That sensation comes and goes, and I do feed it. No, I stop and fast when I feel nothingness. Not an absence of feeling, but the presence of nothing. Like being in the middle of a rainstorm, only for it to rest for a single moment. To remind you what life is like without it. So when you're reminded of what it is to not have, as it is presently in your hand, you know it's overstayed its welcome. So I say bye to it for a little bit. And let me tell you, I don't necessarily feel withdrawal, but instead my involuntary motion of opening my coffee app to peruse the menu is replaced. Replaced by the wanting of something I will not have, which is such a different feeling from one that you cannot, because it's there, it's available to you, but you choose instead to not have it. A physical, I think therefore I am sort of motion to emphasize that you are still the master of your own domain. I take coffee-free weeks not because it's good for me, but to be reminded that I have coffee and coffee does not have me. So I count the days and they do pass by fairly quickly. The yearning is ever present, but it's less an itch that needs scratching, and more so a mildly out of place strand of hair that you're just looking for the time to pull out. So when that day finally comes, when I get to have my favorite drink again, things can finally go back to normal. Oh, and no, this wasn't an analogy. I just like coffee. I've just checked my spending app, and since September, I've spent about 20,000 pesos on coffee. So that thing I said about self-destructive substances,